When I followed my husband's GPS one quiet evening, I didn't expect my life to change forever. It started as something small, a moment of curiosity, a single decision that I thought was harmless. But what I saw that night still plays in my mind like a slow, endless film. A film I never wanted to watch. My name is Sarah, and I was married to David for 16 years. We had a peaceful home, 2 grown-up kids, and a life that most people would call stable. But peace can sometimes hide secrets, and silence can be the loudest sound in a marriage. That night, I sat in my car, hands trembling, as the GPS arrow kept moving, showing me exactly where David was going. My chest felt heavy. Every turn, every stoplight felt like a test of courage. Was I ready to see the truth? Was I ready to know what he had been hiding? A quiet street, a small house at the edge of town. I slowed down, parked a few. The destination appeared on the screen. A quiet street, a small house at the edge of town. I slowed down, parked a few meters away, and watched. And when I saw him walk to that door, when I saw a little girl run out and hug him, I felt the world stop. The kind of silence that doesn't just fill your ears, it fills your bones. That was the night I realized the person you share your home with can still be a stranger. David and I met when I was 23. He was calm, soft-spoken, the kind of man who made you feel safe. We met at a friend's wedding, and within a year, we were married. Our life was simple. We lived in a small town, worked hard, and dreamed about traveling the world one day. We had 2 children, Ethan and Lily. They were our joy, our reason for everything. David worked as a technician at an electronics company. He was organized, quiet, and rarely spoke about his feelings. But he was dependable, at least. Our home was filled with little routines. Every morning, David would kiss me on the forehead before leaving for work. He'd take his black thermos filled with coffee and say, "See you tonight, love." In the evenings, we'd have dinner as a family. He'd ask about the kids' homework, tell us stories from work, and sometimes, on Fridays, we'd watch old movies together. There were no big arguments, no signs of unhappiness, just a calm rhythm of ordinary days. But sometimes, the scariest thing is not the loud fights. It's the quiet changes. I started noticing small things. His phone would always face down. He'd go out for extra shifts more often. He'd smile at his screen when he thought I wasn't looking. At first, I laughed it off. Maybe he's watching funny videos, I'd think. Or he's probably chatting with work friends. To deny it. One night, but deep inside, something didn't feel right. A woman's heart knows when something's wrong, even if her mind tries to deny it. One night, I couldn't sleep. I reached over to his side of the bed. Empty. The clock showed 1:15 a.m. He had said he was working late. But this late? The next morning, I asked casually, "Did you work all night again?" He smiled, tired but distant. "Yeah, the system crashed. I had to fix it before morning." He kissed me on the forehead, just like always. But this time, it felt cold. The signs kept growing. He started spending weekends on site, saying there was maintenance. He changed his phone password, something he'd never done before. Once, when his phone buzzed on the table, I saw a message pop up before it disappeared. "See you tomorrow. Can't wait." My heart skipped a beat. I froze. When I looked up, he was already reaching for the phone. He smiled faintly. "Work thing." I wanted to believe him. I really did. After all, this was my husband. The man I trusted. But the unease kept building like quiet thunder. A few weeks later, I noticed something strange. He had started using a new GPS app on his phone. Every evening, I'd hear the soft voice say, "Route updated." When I asked where he was heading, he always said, "Just work." But one evening, while he was showering, his phone buzzed again, and the screen lit up with a notification. It was from that GPS app. It said, "Route saved, Willow Street, 7:45 p.m. arrival." Willow Street wasn't near his office. It was on the other side of town. Quiet, residential, full of small houses. Something inside me said, "Check it." And against every instinct I had, I did. The next evening, when he said, "I'll be late again," I nodded quietly. And as soon as he left, I followed. I opened the GPS on my phone, put in the same saved route, Willow Street. The roads were empty. Streetlights passed one by one, glowing softly through the windshield. My heart was racing, but my face felt numb. When I reached the street, I parked a little distance away. Then I saw him, standing at the door of a small white house. A woman opened the door. She smiled, a warm, familiar smile. Then a little girl ran out and hugged him tightly. David bent down, lifted her up, and kissed her on the forehead. That moment, I forgot how to breathe. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just watched, as if my body had left my soul behind. My husband, the man I shared a life with, had another family. I drove home that night in silence. No radio, no tears, just silence. When I reached home, I sat in the driveway for almost an hour. The porch light was on, just like always, but it didn't feel like home anymore. When David walked in later, his hair slightly messy, I was sitting on the couch. He froze when he saw me awake. "You're still up?" he asked softly. I looked at him, really looked, and I said, "I saw you, David." He blinked, pretending not to understand. "Saw me? At Willow Street," I whispered. "With the little girl." He froze. His mouth opened, then closed. No lies left to say. Finally, he sat down. His voice broke. "Sarah, please, I didn't know how to tell you." I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. He continued, tears in his eyes. "Her name is Grace. She's 6. Her mother and I, It was before we got married. I didn't know about her until a year ago. When her mother passed away, I had to step in. I felt dizzy. "So you hid it from me?" I asked. "I was scared," he said. "I didn't want to lose you or the kids. I thought if I could manage both." "Manage?" I said quietly. "Is that what you call it? Managing two lives?" He dropped his head into his hands. "I know I destroyed everything. The strange thing was, I didn't feel anger. I felt something deeper, something colder. Disappointment. For the next few days, I moved like a ghost through our home. I cooked breakfast, packed lunch for Ethan and Lily, smiled when they talked, but inside, I was hollow. At night, I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. He continued, tears in his eyes. "Her name is Grace. She's 6. Her mother and I. It was before we got married. I didn't know about her until a year ago. When her mother passed away, I had to step in. I felt dizzy. "So you hid it from me?" I asked. "I was scared," he said. "I didn't want to lose you or the kids. I thought if I could manage both." "Manage?" I said quietly. "Is that what you call it? Managing two lives?" He dropped his head into his hands. "I know I destroyed everything. The strange thing was, I didn't feel anger. I felt something deeper, something colder. Disappointment. For the next few days, I moved like a ghost through our home. I cooked breakfast, packed lunch for Ethan and Lily, smiled when they talked, but inside, I was hollow. At night, I'd hear Weeks passed. We talked, but only about practical things. Bills, the kids, groceries. Then one evening, he said he wanted to talk, properly. We sat at the kitchen table, the same place where we had once shared laughter. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," he began softly. "I just want you to know the truth." He told me everything. How he met the woman before we got married, how she had moved away, how, when she died suddenly, social services found his name on the birth certificate. He said he panicked. He didn't want to break our family, so he rented that house, hired someone to look after Grace, and visited when he could. "I thought I was doing the right thing," he said, his voice trembling. "I didn't want that child to feel abandoned." I listened quietly, and for the first time, I understood something. He wasn't evil. He was just weak. He made choices out of fear, not cruelty. That didn't make it right, but it made it human. A week later, David looked surprised, but he agreed. When I met her, she was shy at first, holding her small toy bunny. Her eyes were so much like his. She smiled and said, "Are you my daddy's friend?" I wanted to cry. Instead, I nodded softly. "Yes, sweetheart, I am." In that moment, all the anger I had left melted. That little girl didn't ask for this. She didn't break my marriage. She was just a child, innocent and kind. Over the next months, I started visiting sometimes. Grace began calling me Aunt Sarah. She would show me her drawings, and I'd help her read. David saw the change too. One evening, he whispered, "Thank you for being kind to her." I replied softly, I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for her and for myself. Because forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from carrying someone else's mistake forever. It's been 2 years since that night. David and I eventually separated, peacefully. We still talk, mostly about the kids. Grace visits sometimes. She calls me Auntie, and every time she hugs me, I feel a strange peace. Our home is smaller now, quieter, but it's honest. And that, I've learned, is better than any illusion of perfection. Sometimes people ask me if I regret following that GPS, if I wish I'd never known. The truth, no, because even though it broke me, it also rebuilt me. That night taught me something powerful. The truth may hurt, but lies destroy slowly. I learned that peace isn't about everything being fine. It's about knowing what's real and choosing to live with it. Now, when it rains, I sit by the window with my tea. I watch the raindrops slide down the glass, and I whisper to myself, sometimes you have to lose everything false to find what's true. So if you're listening to this and you've ever doubted your intuition, trust it. If your heart feels something is wrong, it probably is. And if you ever have to choose between comfort and truth, choose truth, because in the end, that's where peace lives. Thank you for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, please like the video and share your feelings below. Have you ever seen something you wish you could forget?